BravOGs here, where we mention it all. So pay attention, please, and be cool. Don't be all like uncool. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming back to listen to another episode. This week I will be doing another solo. Hannah is out traveling for work, so I am just going to do what I do best, and that is just recaps. This is probably going to be mainly Vanderpump Rules and Summerhouse. So obviously I will be talking about last week's episode of Vanderpump Rules and this current episode that actually just aired last night. So let's get right into it because I have a lot to discuss. Last week on Vanderpump Rules, it started out the episode with Ariana meeting with Anne, who is, or was, I guess I should say, Tom's former assistant. In the episode prior, Ariana had spoken with Anne just asking if she had known anybody because Ariana was looking for an assistant herself with all of the things that were going on in her life at that time. They sit down and this is happening in Ariana and Tom's shared home. So when Anne got there, she kind of checked in with Tom and was just like, hey, I'm just going to talk to Ariana for a little bit and, give her recommendations for her assistant. So once they started talking, you see the slime ball eavesdropping on them. So obviously he had overheard that this was more of an interview and not so much a recommendation chat. So obviously he was getting pretty bitter. So it starts with Ariana talking to Anne about her assistant needs. Ariana originally spoke with Anne and asked if she knew anyone that would be interested, and Anne requested to be in the running. So Ariana wasn't poaching her like Tom claimed. Anne requested to be considered. So Sandoval eavesdrops like the slimy snake he is and complains that Ariana has taken all of their friends and now has to take his assistant. Ariana didn't take any of your friends, idiot. They can all make their own decisions, and this is just another example of Sandoval not wanting or not being able to see what he has in the moment because he always wants to be the victim. The entire friend group has given him a lot of undeserved forgiveness, in my opinion, and even though they're kind of keeping him at arm's length, like not a single person from the current cast has banished him or refused to be around him, with the exception of Katie, who's actually a loyal friend who has morals. So I just want to say, Tom, you're undeserving of an assistant. I'm just going to put it out there. You had Anne cleaning up your dirty underwear and basically the aftermath of your pathetic parties and basically acting like a mom to you, cleaning up after your fucking messes. I mean, I don't even understand how he can afford an assistant. I mean, he claims he's paying all the bills on their mansion that they still share, and he's constantly doing home renovations to make the house what it is and fixing this and that. And if you cannot tell by my tone, this is all being listed with a heavy dose of sarcasm. And let's not forget him probably losing money for his pathetic rendition of being the lead singer in a sad cover band that actually has to act like they love their lives while he's singing horribly on stage. So a big part of this episode was Lala's water tasting event. She has this event held at James and Allie's new house, and everyone goes to support her. I just don't understand. So wait, Lala, you want to throw shade at a second sandwich tasting, yet you're making everyone come to taste water? Okay. I mean, absolutely no shade to Lala that she is sober and she's found something to, that fits her needs and fits her lifestyle, which is great for her. But I mean, you just shouldn't throw stones when you live in a glass house. But hey, that's Lala this season for you. I mean, I forgot who said it during the episode. It may have been Ariana, and simply for the fact that Sandoval was there and drains her soul in his existence. But someone said in this episode, this isn't a water tasting, it's a waterboarding. And for those that don't know, waterboarding is a form of torture. I thought this was such a funny comparison. Not to mention that Ariana went to this pointless gathering simply to support Lala. And for those that don't recognize that, that's just being a good friend, even though she knows that Lala readily invited Sandoval and is willing to have him there to support her, because that's what Tom Sandoval does best, supports other women. But during this water tasting event, this was actually the first of two interactions this episode between the Scorn lovers, Ariana and Tom. And I just want to say, finally, Ariana gets to put Tom in his place. This was the first real face-to-face interaction Ariana and Tom have had, and girl, let your rage out. While he's been on his victim tour and acting like everyone should just get over it already, cue Ariana to remind him where he fucking belongs. I've been waiting over half of this season for someone to finally tell Tom how it really is and what a piece of shit he is. Lisa Vanderpump didn't do it. Sheena's barely done it. Nothing worth remembering, at least. Or having Sheena turn it all about herself. And Lala did it for 1 second on that boat a couple episodes ago, but then hugged it out with him not 2 minutes later. So Ariana popped off because she was telling the girls what had happened a few days prior. Tom apparently locked their dog Maya in Ariana's room when she wasn't home for hours while she was not there. The dog got into some leftover takeout containers that was on her nightstand, and because there were wooden sticks from, chicken satays, the dog had to have emergency surgery to remove those items, costing Ariana a whopping $6,000 in vet bills. And also, I could be wrong and I don't know the exact details, but I don't believe Ariana complained once about having to foot that bill for Sandoval's fuck up. As a whole, I feel like there are so many things wrong with this situation. So, number one, Tom should not have gone into Ariana's room. I mean, I heard that there was something about, the thermostat or the air conditioner, and it was actually located in Ariana's room, which is weird that it would be in a bedroom. But, I mean, that's why Tom has an assistant, right? And a mediator and everything that he needs in his current relationship with Ariana as housemates. I mean, Tom did not have to go in there. Like Ariana scolded him, that is the one room that she feels safe in their house that he wrecked, and for him to carelessly negate that is damaging, and yet another reason why Ariana states that she does not feel safe with this person. Number two, why would you force your shared dog into her room for hours when you and your assistant are both in the home and could have easily had the dog roaming the house? I don't understand that either. And number three, dogs will be dogs. Even the most well-trained dogs will get into things they shouldn't be when left alone, especially left alone for hours, and not to mention locked in a small area for an extended period of time. Also, let's not forget in the episode prior as well, Sandoval was basically gloating that one time he had the dog accidentally eat 500 laxatives. Like, clearly this man does not care about other people's lives. So number four, for Ariana to refer to her dog and her cat as her children, and for Tom to have the reaction that he did to be like flabbergasted by that comparison, just shows how small-minded he is. I have dogs and I have children, and I still consider my pets my babies, my children. Not sure if Sandoval or anyone else remembers how heartbroken Ariana was when she had to put her other dog to sleep the year prior. Oh, the same time Sandoval was fucking her close friend. If he was the cause of Ariana having to put another one of her dogs down a year later for a careless and reckless occurrence, pretty sure Sandoval would have been murdered. And number five, for Sandoval to be so insensitive about the situation as well, saying in his confessional, well, there's no dead dog in this situation. My friend, what the fuck is wrong with you? It comes across like he didn't really give a fuck about an animal they adopted and cared for together at one point, which, I mean, I guess isn't that surprising since he gave no fucks whatsoever about ruining Ariana's life. And I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't really dog people and not animal people, and that's okay, to each their own. But there's a difference of not being a dog person and treating animals poorly. I stand by the fact that if you treat animals badly, you will never be a good person in my eyes. You can try to accommodate in other areas of your life or attempt to be looked at as a good person, but someone that has no compassion for animals or anything that depends on like a fully functioning human for life necessities like babies, animals, etc., you're lacking a serious sensitivity chip in your brain and in your soul. And just a side note, I also believe this if you treat servers or waiters or wait staff, anything like that poorly, I look at you as a shitty person as well, because you view that person as not like on the same level or someone that's there to just serve you and you treat them lesser than. I don't fuck with those people, and I think I don't like that. So just going off that whole situation, Lala is throwing so much shade in her confessionals still, since she has really yet to do it to Ariana's face and just prefers to be shady behind closed doors and say all these like inappropriate and just insensitive shit by saying, didn't Ariana do a trash bag commercial? She should know how to throw her trash out. Clearly, Ariana does kind of struggle with taking her trash out since she keeps you around, Lala. And to quote Taylor Swift, trash takes itself out every fucking time. So Lala, please see yourself out. See yourself all the way out to the fucking bank where Ariana continues to rake in endorsement deals that just continue to drain every drip of jealousy that's seething from your bones. Also, Ariana stated that this is the one room in her house that she has to herself and that is not a shared space with the literal devil. So here's some examples of maybe why she didn't get around to throwing her trash out. She hasn't been able to freely move about her home to get to the trash if that snake is continuously slithering around. She has probably been busy with all of her current endeavors at the time and didn't have time. Maybe it was literally that morning or the night before, and I don't judge anybody for, not taking their trash out within a 24-hour period. I mean, maybe she just assumed that Tom would not invade her space and lock their dog in her room for hours while she was not home because that was the basic expectation they were both aware of, that Sandoval completely disregarded like everything else in their lives. Also, Ariana is still like heavily healing from trauma and has been very open about her mental health struggles in the past. Maybe she's been depressed and hasn't got the urge to clean up recently. Maybe all the things she has going on, throwing her trash away from her room was maybe not the top of her list. And to just sidebar that topic real quick, just because she's gotten a lot of endorsements and opportunities and money from those things coming in no way equals that the trauma she has endured automatically goes away because she has a little more padding in her bank account. This is heavily the narrative that Lala and Sheena are trying to push. Well, she has money now, the trauma shouldn't mean anything or it should just disappear. I bet all the money Ariana has earned from this, if she could choose to have that money or go back in time and not have the trauma and the fallout from the vision of whatever her life was going to be and the person she envisioned her life with, I would almost guarantee she would choose to not have that trauma. So sorry that Ariana doesn't seem like the type of person to feel that money erases all of your problems. Lala and Sheena, cough, cough. You were both all on this trauma sensitivity train with Ariana while she was allowing you both to profit off her trauma. But now the Send It to Daryl merch has subsided, and once again, no one gives a fuck about Good as Gold again, and you both act like, well, she should get over it. Let's be friends with Sandoval again to keep the show going. Some people have morals, Lala and Sheesh. Morals that can't be corrupted by money and material things. Money can't buy you class, Lala. Anywho, one last note on this waste of a human Sandoval. He is such a hypocrite because during this whole interaction with Ariana and Tom at the water tasting, he complains that it's so hard to move on when Ariana is in the same room talking shit about me. But not 2 seconds later, he goes out to hang out with the guys and starts talking shit about Ariana. Like, no one wants to give you a pass because you are undeserving of one. I say this every time I record. Sandoval has still not grown. He has not evolved, and he has not changed for the better. I honestly don't even know at this point if he's even capable. So moving on, then we have the whole Katie, Tom, Schwartz, and Max of it all. So for those that weren't aware, Katie ended up hooking up with Max. Max was on previous seasons of Vanderpump Rules and has honestly hooked up with almost everyone. But recently it came to light, thank you Brock and Sheena, that Katie and Max had a little rendezvous after a night out that Sheena even admitted to kind of pushing the situation along. And then the only reason why they know for sure what happened is because Sheena had Max's location and checked it that night and checked it the next morning, where it happened to be in Katie's apartment building. Katie and Tom Schwartz step outside to have a little chat about the whole Max of it all. And I stand by what I said last episode. Katie has nothing to apologize for and does not owe Schwartz a goddamn thing. This is quoted so beautifully by Katie this episode. Should I feel bad? No, it's not like we had an agreement. Which, for those that don't know, following their divorce last year, Katie's only request was that Tom does not hook up with anyone in their friend group, only for Tom to do what he does best in their relationship, their marriage, and the aftermath, which is completely disregard Katie's feelings and be disrespectful. Schwartz made out with Raquel very publicly and also in plain sight of Katie last year at Sheena's wedding, which is, icky in itself. But then we all eventually find out that this hookup was just a ploy to take attention off of his best friend, Tom Sandoval, fucking the same piece of trash at the same time, and even later that same night. So not only did Schwartz give absolutely no fucks about how this might affect Katie or any kind of friendly co-parenting relationship they may have going forward, but he did it solely to misdirect people finding out about the unfathomless affair his best friend was having. Classy. So back to my point. What the fuck does Katie owe Tom at this point? For Tom to then think, well, Katie did a bad thing now, so we're even. She's just as bad as me. No, bless your pitiful little heart, Schwartz. You cheated on her all during your relationship, during your engagement, and during your marriage. So the fact that Katie slept with a friend of Tom Schwartz and probably wasn't even going to tell anybody, she was probably going to take this one to the grave, like, that does not make you even. You had already broke the one thing that Katie asked for from you, and so it means nothing. It means nothing. And I think this was a good kick in the ass for Schwartz. Katie is hot and desirable, and if he doesn't appreciate that, someone else will. Katie owes absolutely nothing to Schwartz at this point. Also, what's with Schwartz's shtick about saying time is running out for him and he wants to have kids soon? I believe it's because now, being divorced and having worthless friendships and nothing to really show from his relationship from the past 12 to 14 years, you are now farther away from having that reality come to fruition. So instead of peddling this narrative that you really want to get serious and start a family with someone worthy, how about you just stay true to form and go start dating a 23-year-old or something? Oh yeah, now I remember. You're already doing that. I'm sure while Sloppy Joe is weirdly making sad, quirky noises peeking out around the corner from a distance because it's not her. And after watching this last night's episode, I can't tell you how true that prediction of mine is. Anyway, the episode ended with everyone showing up to the beach gathering where it appeared to be a girls' one-on-one side of the gathering and the boys on the other. But prior to this beach outing, there was a scene where Brock and Sheena were talking in their home, and for some unknown reason, Brock has a very strong opinion about how if Ariana can't control her anger towards Sandoval, she shouldn't be invited to these things. Wait. This is coming from a man that was hit with domestic abuse charges towards his previous girlfriend or fiancée and the mother of his previous children. He thinks he has a leg to stand on in this situation? Take a whole ass seat, my wife-beating friend. First, the audacity of him thinking he has a right to this opinion about Ariana not being allowed to be angry at Sandoval and voicing that. And second, for him to try and enact authority that her yelling at him in a group setting is unacceptable. Oh, I see. Brock likes to do his yelling and physical disregarding and abusing women behind closed doors, so they don't have any witnesses. Got it. And third, Brock, who are you again? You're Sheena's accessory, and only got more camera time because several other main cast members are no longer on the show. So who the fuck are you again? You are irrelevant. Back to the beach. So Brock just can't seem to help himself and makes a completely inappropriate and insensitive joke about Sandoval and Raquel's past dalliances right in front of Ariana. Since you big caveman, let me make easy for you. You so mad Ariana mad at Tom, don't fucking poke bear. The episode ends with Ariana stating the obvious to the group. Look, I'm not over this yet. Trauma takes time to heal, and if you continue to force me in situations where I'm uncomfortable with the people around, and you make disrespectful comments at my expense of my trauma, what the fuck do you think is gonna happen? One last thought about all those people who think Ariana should just get over it because it's been a few months and she's getting money now and whatever the reason. I truly believe something that I was told many years ago. When going through a breakup, it usually takes someone half of the amount of time of the duration of that relationship to get over to get over it after the breakup. So, for example, if you dated someone for 2 years, it would take you approximately like 1 year to be fully over it. And I'm not saying that you're taking this 1 year and sulking around depressed and you don't consider dating for a whole year. I'm talking more in the concept of like a subconscious level. Like all of your emotions, your ideas of what your life was going to be like with this person, your ability to be strong enough not to respond to an I miss you text late at night from your ex, like anything like that, or all of the above. So let's break this down. Ariana and Tom were together for almost 10 years. And although her hatred and anger probably helps her move on from any sort of like temptation aspect of their relationship, but the loyalty she felt from the end of that relationship, the trust, the communication part, she may not be able to fully be repaired from for several years. And yes, it's been 1 year since the scandal ball broke for we as the viewers that are watching, but don't forget the show was filming 3 to 4 months after her life had completely changed. Not to mention, at the time of this filming, within the last year of Ariana's life, she lost three major relationships in her life. She lost her grandmother, that she was very close to. She lost her dog, who I refer to as like a transitional life dog. And this is the dog that is like the support for you during your huge transitional phases in your life, your older adolescent to young adulthood into older adulthood. This is a very transformative time, and and the last, finally, her ride or die life partner, who she genuinely thought she would be spending the rest of her life with. I just think anyone with that viewpoint that Ariana should be moved on by now because she has a new boyfriend or has received more money, nothing can repair the mental and emotional damage that has been done. And maybe if you are not Team Ariana and you think that she just needs to get over it, maybe you should put yourself in her situation and ask yourself, how long would you allow yourself time to fully heal from a decade-long partnership? If I had to guess, it would be more than a few months. And I know I mentioned this last week when I was talking about all of this with Hannah, but I'm still so angry at Andy Cohen, and I love Andy Cohen. For Andy Cohen to state that Lala and Brock are the voices of reason this season still irks me to my core. Like, I understand we haven't seen the rest of the season as Andy Cohen did, and hopefully there's some huge revelation where Lala and Brock seem to come to their senses and not support some POS and just support a woman that has been very heavily traumatized and hurt. But unless we see a complete 180 from their behavior that we've seen thus far this season, like I'm still like angry and bitter about this. I mean, sure, from a production standpoint, you want to rile up the fans, you want to get them angry, you want to get them, talking about something, but I mean, it's just like icky. Like, I don't want to continuously watch two people that really don't have very high morals and um, don't have really high standards for their friendships and just women in general. I mean, Brock has absolutely no seat at this table. He just needs to zip his mouth, continue to be Sheena's little accessory on her arm, and just be grateful that he has a spot on the show. Because I don't think anyone really wants to hear him talk. And Lala, I have liked Lala over the years. I really have. But the way that she is just framing herself as being a soft, understanding person, giving people so many chances, where, like, it's just the biggest hypocritical thing ever. You can change, you can be soft, but being soft does not mean you compromise your morals and you compromise what you know is right and support the wrong people and bash the people that Lala has even said last season. She won't forget how Ariana and Katie were the ones that rode for her. She will never forget this, that rode for her, supported her and her daughter during her breakup with Randall. Like, oh, how quickly the tides have turned. And maybe Lala is just putting on a front to keep the show going. I mean, if this is the reason that you know, obviously you're not really banking off of Ariana's trauma anymore, so you need something else to kind of keep the money flowing in. And if that's true, just say that. Just say, hey, I'm going to be kind of the villain this season and be a shitty friend just so we can keep getting my bills paid. I mean, she had no no remorse and no problem mentioning that in seasons past that she would just be Randall's casting couch girl. So the irony is lost on me. So now we are moving into this current week's episode. So they start the episode at the beach day, kind of picking up where they left off after Ariana kind of got mad at everyone. Um, and during the aftermath of this, Ariana's still like upset about it. She's like, "What do you expect me to do? Have the best fucking beach day ever?" And Brock is trying to justify Tom's behavior. Like, again, Brock, take a seat, bury your head in the sand, or go for a dip in the ocean and don't come up. Like, stop talking. You are irrelevant, and your past just makes this so much more worse for you because you have no leg to stand on. And Ariana was right. She said anyone that isn't jumping in and telling Sandoval to stop with his digs and stop poking at her, fuck them. And I agree with her wholeheartedly. And the fact that shortly after this, so after Ariana went off on him again at the beach, Tom walked away and Schwartz, like the loyal puppy dog he is, followed Sandoval to make sure that he was okay. And once again, Tom starts bashing Ariana, and he is still talking about batteries and paper towels and how Ariana doesn't do anything for the house. And this was said during one of his confessionals. And when he said this last year, when all of the scandal broke, people roasted him, being like, and this even like coincidentally had Ariana get a Duracell commercial just to be awesome. So even production during his confessional was like, you got roasted last time you said this. Like, why would you bring it up again? And I was like, yes. And he like, it didn't even register to him. He responded with like, oh, Ariana's going to be in for it when she's on her own. In for it, as in living her best life without a piece of shit dragging her down. Yeah, she's really in for it, Sandoval. So it was just super duper cringy because there was like a group of girls sitting next to the Toms while they were getting a drink at the bar where Sandoval is, I think, still on his sober, curious journey at this point. So he was doing shots of water. Like, I get it, I guess. You want to feel like you not drinking, you're still like part of it, but like you don't need to like pour a shot of water. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of odd. But it was just the cringiest thing ever because Sandoval started like hitting on the girls at the table next to him, and it's just like I don't even know how he gets any girls besides a girl wanting to be associated with him to just be on TV and stuff like that. But like, gross, dude. Like him trying to hit on other girls is just the cringiest thing that Bravo is forcing us to watch. So anyway, after they leave the beach, they're all gathered at this bar by the beach, and it's basically Tom and the whole group elsewhere in the bar. So we are introduced to Tori, Tori is one of Sheena's friends, and I can't remember if she was like Sheena's nanny at one point or just a family friend or just a friend. But anyway, recently Tori has expressed that she may have a little crush on Tom Schwartz. So Sheena, being the great matchmaker that she is, thinks that this is yet another great opportunity to set Schwartz and Tori up. So you see Tori and Schwartz interacting, and it's just awkward because Tori basically has to like ask Schwartz to ask her out on a date. Like, she's giving all the signals, she's throwing out, that she's interested and she likes him, and he's just acting like the goofball Schwartz that he is, and she literally has to like tell him what to do. And as a 40-something-year-old man, like, just sack up and ask a girl that you think is hot out on a date without her having to ask you. It's just pathetic. But so while Tori was basically begging Schwartz to ask her out on a date, Katie had also expressed to Sheena that, hey, Tori's hot. Like, don't hook him up with Schwartz. Like, hook him up with me. Like, I'm down to experiment. I've been with the same guy for, over 12 years and maybe I want to try something new. And why not? Tori seems like she'd be a good time and is free and open to whatever. So while Tori was trying to talk to Schwartz, Katie swooped in and probably asked the best game I've ever seen. And she told Schwartz to basically beat it and go hit on the girls that Sandoval was hitting on. And then she started talking to Tori. And later on, while they were talking at this bar, Tori and Katie ended up making out. There was heavy flirting, and Tori was like, "Oh my God, Katie, you're just so cute. You're so beautiful, and I want to kiss you so bad." And Katie's like, "Okay, do it." And so we see a little girl on girl action, which was cool. So while they're at the bar, Lala and Sheena are talking to Ariana because she's still kind of like upset about the whole interaction and kind of like flabbergasted that the whole group doesn't understand, why this is like so hard for everyone to comprehend, and just kind of letting Tom be Tom and not putting him in his place. Like, I don't understand. So Ariana starts crying, and while Ariana's explaining that, this was her dream home that they had, and, yes, she should move out, but why should she have to do all this? And, when he was the one that ruined their dream home and their life together, and now she has to be the adult again because everyone just expects Tom. That's who Tom is. He's not going to leave. He's a piece of crap. Like, so it's on Ariana. But why does it have to be? Why does it have to be? Yeah, he is the way he is, but people don't change, I think, unless they have like pressure to, and nobody is giving him pressure. Like, anyway, Lala starts crying and acting like she cares what Ariana is going through with Tom. Like, she is the biggest flip-flopper and just makes herself look so fake. She is such a snake. Like, Lala was ranting on social media a couple weeks ago that, Katie and Lala had this fight or whatever, and Katie was on, Watch What Happens Live or whatever, and she was asked about it, or the Vile Files, and she was asked, like, what's your beef with Lala? And Katie's like, honestly, like, I don't really know what she's talking about. So Lala was like, oh, Katie's got amnesia, real bad amnesia. Well, Lala, want to talk about having amnesia? I'm surprised that Lala can even remember her name because she has such amnesia about trying to relate to Ariana and feeling so bad for her. And like, while Ariana's pouring her heart out and saying, you guys are right, like, I should move out, but like, my whole life has been turned upside down. And instead of making quick decisions, like, I want to be smart and not get screwed over and take my time making such a huge life decision. So Ariana said she keeps her armor up because what she went through was fucking traumatic. And it makes everything worse that Sandoval has absolutely no remorse for Ariana or the situation. I can't even imagine that. Like, having everything change in your life and having the person that traumatically changed it for you, like, not feeling bad or taking any ounce accountability for doing that to somebody else. So the next scene really threw me off. Joe, Sloppy Joe, and Lala meet up because Lala is just doing what Lala does best. So yeah, I really don't understand what Lala is trying to do. I was very confused about this situation. So they meet up at a hot dog or wiener stand or something and just sit down and have a little chat. Like, and Joe started complaining that, she doesn't know why she's not accepted in this friend group. And like, why would you think you'd be accepted in this friend group? Like, you swooped in as a poster girl for a pick-me. So that Katie's the crazy ex and Schwartz is going to be head over heels in love, and all of their secret rendezvous and meeting up and hooking up behind the scenes. Like, why do you want to be accepted in this friend group? And then it hit me. Joe really thinks that her and Schwartz were going to be a thing. And coincidentally, if that did come to fruition, that she would be hanging out this group and it would have to be accepted as Schwartz's new girlfriend. So anyway, Lala asked her flat out, like, hey, last year when all of this was going on with this, before the scandal broke, it was pretty much Tom Sandoval, Tom Schwartz, and Joe and Raquel that would always hang out. So Lala asked her flat out, hey, did you know that the affair was going on? And Joe flat out lies, claiming she didn't know about the affair. She said she was so hyper focused on her and Schwartz that she didn't even have time to think. Like, clearly you don't have time to think about anything. Like it was such a lie, and it just bothered me so much that like, okay, we all see right through that. And she said in her confessional, Joe, she said she can't understand why anyone would think that she would know. Like, be so fucking for real not right now. Like it was, have you ever watched somebody lie like so blatantly and you're like, huh, yeah, that's what I got from it. Anyway, at Topgolf, James, Allie, Ariana, and Katie, James started asking if Katie made out with Tori just to spite Tom. And this kind of bothered me, and clearly, like, Katie had the same reaction. She goes, it's not always about Tom. Like, not everything she does is Tom is at the forefront of her mind about it. Like, I guess to some people it might seem that she's trying to spite Tom with the whole Max thing and now with the Tori thing, but Katie said it so good. She's like, look, if Schwartz wants Tori, maybe he should try harder. But we all know that's not Schwartz's shtick. He barely tries, except when it comes to his friend Sandoval. I like that Katie was just kind of like, please separate me and Tom, and not everything I do revolves around him. I've evolved, I've grown, and I'm moving on with my life, and everyone else should too. And I just liked how Ariana was talking about like manifesting her new house, and that once she finally does decide on the next step in her like real estate journey, the house that she eventually chooses, this is going to be something that no one can take away. And that hit deep because so many times when you share finances or, have things shared with your partner, it's like yours together. And the fact that someone could do something so detrimental to take that away from you or not feel like it was ever yours or yours currently, it really resonated with me how she was just like, look, this next house that I get, it's going to be mine, and I'm very excited for this, but I don't want to rush it. I want to make sure that I'm being financially smart and saving for her new dream home that no one can wreck. And it just so happens within the last week or two, the news broke that Ariana finally did get her own place. And I'm just so happy for her. She can finally get out of that situation. And I'm hoping that the house is put up for sale. I don't think Sandoval deserves it. I honestly don't think he'll even be able to afford it on his own. But like just the fact that, this was their house together, it just makes it like so sad that like Tom just doesn't care and just wants it to be his party house. So then Lala and Sheena in the next scene, they go to a fertility clinic or a sperm bank because Lala has expressed that she is wanting to have another child through artificial insemination, does not want a actual partner for this. She wants to do it on her own because Lala also had trauma with her breakup with Randall. As you guys know, that she did have a child with him. So I really can't imagine how difficult that is, having to share custody of a kid because your relationship with your partner did not work out and now you don't have your own kid for half the time. I that would break my heart. So I do see where Lala's coming with, and I wish her all the best on this journey. I know this past week she also just revealed the gender of her new baby, which is a girl, and I am happy for her, but I really wish that would have been more of Lala's kind of storyline and focus is about expanding her family and doing that, but instead she has to focus all of her energy on bashing Ariana every week. And it's not just even on the show she shows her flip-flop behavior, it's all of the interviews and podcasts and all of her everything since the show has ended for them. It's just relentless, and I guess that's just Lala's way of keeping people talking, but she just makes herself look like such a shit. Like, she just bothers me. But in regards to the sperm bank thing, I am very happy for Lala on this journey. So Lala and Sheena were talking, and she did get really emotional. She said, you wouldn't risk like hurting your baby because she's not able to give them what she had growing up, which was two loving parents, a stable household, just a very loving environment. And I think she does have a lot of guilt that she wasn't able to give Ocean, her child with Randall, that same kind of thing. So it is very sad. And she said she can't go through that again. But what really bothered me, like, minus the whole child aspect of it, like, that's exactly how Ariana is feeling about herself. And that's exactly what Ariana expressed to Lala earlier in this episode, that she just, like, cannot go through that kind of trauma again. And whatever way that you need to do that to protect yourself, like, should be your own journey and accepted by other people. It's not your life. But like Lala just doesn't seem to have much empathy for Ariana when she has so much empathy for herself. It just rubs me the wrong way. So, I mean, again, Lala and Sheena start talking about, how Ariana just needs to get out of that house, and it's not that simple of Ariana just moving out. Like, tell Sandoval to move out. Everyone just continues to accept that he's a piece of shit and refuses to leave. Like, talk shit on him. Like, why does it have to be on Ariana? Like, why? And Sheena has lost her mind because she made a comment to Lala that, oh, Ariana just doesn't want to leave the house because she doesn't want to live in an apartment. But the way she said it was just like more like, oh, the apartment is what Ariana isn't about. It's like, no, dude, Ariana's not going to rush out to get a shitty apartment, leaving all of the furniture and all of the things that she curated that their shared home to look like just because she doesn't want to move to an apartment. Like, Sheena, you just continue to make yourself look so bad as well. Oh, anyway, moving on from that. It's just like also the fact that like Lala and Sheena, Lala's at this place where, it's part of her journey and part of moving on, but yet they have to keep going back to Ariana. Like, stop talking shit about her. Just support her. Just support her. So anyway, we goes to, as we know, Joe is a hairstylist or hairdresser. So she works at a salon, surprisingly, and Tom Schwartz goes there to do something different with his hair. So Joe ends up convincing him to bleach his hair. And as she's doing his hair, like Schwartz is talking about like the date that he went on with Tori the night before. And let's preface this by saying Joe is like heavily in love with Schwartz. Whether she outright admits it, which she actually ends up doing this episode in her confessional, but she does. It's just so obvious. Like she's so in love with Schwartz, and Schwartz is. I think he knows, but he just like doesn't really want to say flat out like he's not that into her. But you could just see Joe like being so irritated that he's talking about this date that he had with Tori the night before, and then he mentions that he's going to a like singles mixer event mainly to support Sandoval because Sandoval wants to go, but Schwartz is like, hey, why not? Like I'm single too. I'm gonna go to kind of support him, and Joe asked to be included. She wants to go like 100%, and I think it's more so to like keep an eye on Tom. But she's acting like, oh yeah, we're cool. We're just just friends with benefits, and it doesn't bother me. Like yeah, let's go and just see what we can get. Like it's so obvious. It's so obvious. So Tom's saying and when he mentions his date with Tori, Joe was like, wait, she's kind of in the friend group. I thought that wasn't allowed. And then Tom says the friend group hookup ban is off because of Katie and Max. Like, does he not remember the reason why that hookup friend group ban is off now? Wasn't it because of him and Raquel last year when he broke it freshly out of their divorce? That is why Katie no longer gave a fuck. But he still just doesn't understand how it was disrespectful to Katie. But anyway, just let him live in Delulu land with his bestie. But while she was bleaching his hair, Joe was like talking to Schwartz, and literally Joe's coworker was like, they caught it on camera. She was asking Schwartz, like Joe's coworker, who was at like the seat next to Schwartz, like doing somebody else's hair. She's like, like Tom, how's your head doing? Joe, you should probably check. And Schwartz was like, yeah, my head's kind of burning because when you bleach your hair, that's like bleach. It's gonna hurt, especially if it's in too long. So Joe was like, oh yeah, let's go clean it. And it's super blonde. Like Schwartz looked like he was trying out for Ken in the movie Barbie. But it was funny, while they were having the scene of him at Joe's hair salon, they were also kind of going back and forth because Katie ended up having a date with Tori as well the following night. And so Katie just had Tori come over to her place, and they did that, like painting thing where they just like paint pictures together and just like chat, whatever. But I just, while I was watching that scene, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so lesbian right now. I just felt like that was kind of like a typical like lesbian date, and no shade at all. It's just like the whole context of that date. I just thought I thought it was kind of funny. But anyway, so moving on. So the next scene is Katie, Ariana, Lala, and Sheena, and they had kind of like a girls' night out. And Lala just kind of, nonchalantly throws it out there like, oh, I met up with Joe and we just talked. And Katie was like, immediately like, what? Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that, Lala? Like, what is the point of that? And Lala's like, look, I just wanted to make sure she was okay after the whole Hotel Ziggy situation and didn't want her to feel like left out or anything like that. And I love how Katie is questioning Lala about meeting up with Joe. Like, thank God Katie actually speaks what I feel like a lot of us are thinking. And it's like, it just bothers me because it's like Lala feels so entitled to throw her opinion out and act like she's above everyone else. But anytime anyone questions her about anything or like, where does your loyalty lie? Like, Lala gets immediately defensive. And it's like she is the epitome of you can dish it, but you cannot take it. So Lala says, look, Joe is harmless. Like, she's not the type of girl that is going to come after your man. And it's like, wait, hold on a second. First of all, Joe is a pick me girl that immediately went after Katie's man after they were going through their breakup, but she was already trying to weasel her way in there before they even broke up. But anyway, Lala, I thought this was weird that Lala only thinks a girl is threatening if she has the potential to take your man, which is so obvious that Lala bases so much of self-worth and friendships and loyalty based around men. Like, girls can be shady, they can be mean, they can be messy, they can be heartless. I mean, sound familiar, Lala? Because you can be all those things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that all revolves around the guy or a guy that you have in your life. Like, it just shows that Lala just is only threatened by girls if they have potential of taking her man, which is very small-minded if you ask me. But Lala's whole defense is, she goes, because I'm soft right now, Katie. Like, Lala, please, where is this softness and this new beginning and this new you? Like, where is that with your real friends? Because you're only offering this softness to undeserving people that you have no loyalty to, you have never been your friends, but yet you're offering all these other people's softness when the people that should be receiving your softness are Ariana and Katie. So, I mean, I just thought Katie was 100% right by telling Lala her actions were not making a lot of sense because they aren't, and that she likes people that are consistent. Like, exactly. Katie is the voice of reason. Katie is the voice of reason, not Lala and not Brock. If you want someone to push storylines or do what producers tell them, sure, Lala's great. But as a loyal friend that's consistent, that's not Lala. So we kind of so then we witness this tragedy of this singles party that the Toms and Joe tag along to. So as soon as they get there, everyone's kind of shocked by Schwartz's new like bleach blonde hairdo, and Joe is just acting like Schwartz's mother. She's like fixing his hair and running her fingers through it, and this is just her being like territorial. Like, obviously she's uncomfortable being there and does not want Schwartz to be, you know, with anybody else. But I mean, just the entire time that they were there, Joe was trying so hard the entire time to cock block him, and it was just like so funny to watch at first because she's just so cringe to watch. But like, Joe just said in her confessional, she's just like, with Shorts like not even caring about me, like I just feel like chopped liver. And I was like, oh, Joe, you're not chopped liver, you're sloppy Joe. But in all seriousness, like, I do feel bad for Joe in this moment because, you know, it's really sad to watch when you, I think a lot of times when you like somebody or in love with somebody, you really have rose colored glasses on and you don't see the reality of the situation. Like, sometimes it smacks you in the face and your rose colored glasses disappear. And now it was just kind of sad because I've witnessed this in the past with some of my friends, and I've probably even been victim to it like years ago before I started having confidence in myself. But it was sad to watch how, like, no matter what someone says to you, because Joe was saying that her and Schwartz were still kind of hooking up behind the scenes, and they say, I love you to one another, but people's actions show you so much more about who they are than their words. And it's so obvious that Schwartz Schwartz's actions have not given Joe any kind of reassurance in whatever their relationship is. Like, and it's kind of sad to watch because you're watching it from like an outside perspective and you're just like, oh my God, like this person does not care about you nearly as much as you care about him. So in that aspect, like I do kind of feel bad for her because sometimes you really don't see it. But it's also kind of like all of Schwartz's actions for months have shown that like you should be aware of this. And I know it probably comes from a lot of lack of self-confidence that Joe has, and it's just very apparent, which makes that part of it really sad. But it's also like, Joe, like, wise the fuck up, dude. Like, come on. Like, he's not into you, and the harder you try, it just makes you look more pathetic. And it is just, it's kind of sad to watch. Like, I did feel bad for her, but it's also kind of like, well, you kind of like convinced yourself it was kind of more than it was, and not letting Schwartz off the hook because people say he's very charming and I'm sure he says a lot of things behind closed doors, but if someone's actions in public don't reflect what's being said and done privately, like there's your answer right there. Like you need to wise up, especially at this age and this point in your life. Like it's time to start looking at things for what they really are in reality. And it's also just funny because like I hope Joe really reflects on this now, and Joe's always seen Katie as the crazy ex and she's just jealous that Joe's hanging out with Schwartz, and I hope Joe actually sees that maybe Katie wasn't so wrong after all about how Tom completely disregards like girls' feelings he's hooking up with and supposedly with and stuff. So I mean, eh. Feel bad for her, but I also don't really feel that bad for her. So, but I'm also not a Joe sympathizer, so boo-hoo. So anyway, all the guys do they get together for a paintball rendition, and oh, Billy Lee is also with the guys. Ugh. And then Lala, Sheena, and Allie just came to watch and chat. So I just thought it was funny because the whole episode, Ariana even was like ragging on Tom Sandoval, being like, Tom got all of this paintball gear and he thinks he's like a professional. And as they were showing like everyone doing the paintball thing, like Tom Sandoval was literally the first one to get out and he was like in his full getup of gear. It was just really, it was really funny. But anyway, the three girls were talking, and I just kept thinking, Lala and Sheena are such mean girls, dude. Like, why is Lala even bringing up Katie and Max? Like, Lala's still bitter Betty because she was saying, oh, Katie was ragging on me, saying that she's loyal to people that are loyal to her. Like, yeah, she thought, Lala, you were a loyal friend, but clearly Lala only saves her softness for men and Joe. But yeah, they were just the way Lala and Sheena were snickering in the scene. I just like, oh, it just makes me so angry at them and just solidifies the fact that they are shitty, shitty friends. So the end of the episode, it was Joe and Schwartz talking because at the singles mixer, Joe just kind of like gets fed up and like so Schwartz ends up making out with a girl at the singles mixer, like basically in front of Joe as she's like kind of circling around him and making those weird ass faces that she makes and being all awkward. And obviously you could tell that Joe was very hurt and ends up just like leaving because she's like, I thought we were just coming to support Sandoval and here he is making out with someone in front of me. It's like, he's given you enough signs, Joe, that he does not consider you his girlfriend, it's so anyway, she was very upset. So the end of the episode is Joe and Schwartz talking. And Schwartz was just like, yo, like, what happened? Like, why did you get so upset at the singles mingle thing? Like, he's like, I'm talking about dates I'm going on. Like, I am hooking up with other people. Like, we are not together. So it was just kind of like reality hitting Joe in the face. Like Schwartz is not always like forthcoming with his feelings and how he feels, but I felt like he was actually saying and like laying it out there very clearly, like where the relationship stands. And it was just sad because Joe, the whole like conversation was like giving him a million reasons why she thinks they should be together. And, it was honestly like just sad to watch. Like, just, I don't know. But she was literally listing every reason why they should be together, and her having to just basically accept him for who he is, and who he is a person that does not give a fuck about their relationship. So that was really sad. The episode ended with Joe crying, and she kind of walked out of their apartment, and she said she had to go call her dad because she was so upset. And then Schwartz was just kind of like, Joseph, like, where'd you go, Joseph? But yeah, that was the end of the episode. Those Okay, I just want to insert a little TikTok here. His name is Chris Burns, and if you are on TikTok, you should go check out his videos. He does like mock videos of a lot of the Vanderpump scenes, and they're really, really funny. But this one he did was Joe and Schwartz having their talk. So here it is.
Oh, hey, Joseph. Thanks for cleaning my apartment. Doot, doot. We both live here, even though you won't let me put my name on the mailbox. You won't let me put my name on mailbox. Joseph McFunmuffins, what's going on? You've never cared about not being on the mailbox before. And I feel like you were kind of sad this morning when I asked you to make pancakes for my one-night stand. Pancakes, fancakes, I wish you were my man-cakes. Uh-oh, Joe Butt is short-circuiting. Oh, Joseph and the amazing inability to take a hint Dreamcoat, you know how much you mean to me. But I'm only 40. Settling down is for losers. There's only one thing I hate more than losers. Boozers and snoozers and the way you treat me around your friends. Joe Flirt, I'm sorry if I'm sending you mixed messages by hanging out with you all the time, asking you to move into my apartment, letting you clean things for me, hanging out with my friends all the time, saying how important you are to me. But just to be clear as glass. In fact, I can see right through you. It Takes Two, my favorite Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. Sorry to interrupt, sir. I do believe you were trying to say something while I tried not to cry. Oh yeah, the one with Kirstie Alley. That's a good one. And just like Kirstie Alley's QAnon political views towards the end of her life, it's complicated and nobody gets me. Except you. Which is why I want to continue making out with girls half my age at seaside bars. You understand, right, Joseph? Like, totally floatily. Stop.
Also, another TikToker that if you are on TikTok, you should go watch. It's just Christina, and she makes all of these compilation videos. One of the recent ones is how Lala has been such a flip-flopper, and almost everything she's been saying currently in social media and podcasts and her Amazon Lives, it basically shows scenes from past Vanderpump episodes where she completely contradicts herself. So if you have any time, you should go watch some of her videos because they're really, really good. Those are my thoughts about Vanderpump. Obviously, Vanderpump takes up the most time on this current podcast for me just because it really just brings up so many emotions for me, and I just feel like I have to get my opinion. And as of lately, it's crazy because as I'm talking to more people about the show and about the whole dynamics of the friendships, like there's a lot more people on like Lala's side than I thought, which is like kind of upsetting to me as like viewers and as like society. And it's just like, why don't you guys have empathy for somebody who has done so dirty? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just at the standpoint of like putting myself in other people's shoes, and like if this was done to me and my super close friends were not supportive, and just I find out months later that they're just bashing me relentlessly behind my back, like I would be really upset. So I just don't understand how anyone is like backing up Lala and Sheena at this point unless they solely just want the show to keep going, because it's not sustainable if everyone did what was right and had morals and cut that piece of shit out of their life. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I hope I didn't make anybody mad. But those are just my thoughts. So yeah. And I will end it there with Vanderpump, and let's talk about Summerhouse. All right, let's get into Summerhouse. So we are going to be discussing the last two episodes. So last week, the episode starts during their speedway party, which is kind of like set up like a Grand Prix type of theme. Carl decided to come up Saturday morning instead of coming Friday afternoon with Lindsay in hopes of breaking their Friday night fight curse that has been plaguing their Hamptons getaways the past few weekends. Everyone seems to be having a good time and getting along, although Gabby and Danielle were MIA this weekend, and to be honest, you don't really notice their absence in the slightest. Okay, really the only juicy information, besides Paige and Amanda kind of showing their soft spot for Lindsay, which I think was kind of undeserving given Lindsay's behavior the past couple weeks, but Carl pulls Kyle aside to have an intimate chat about his upcoming wedding. Kyle and Amanda tied the knot about, I don't know, not even 2 years ago, I'd say, where Carl was not only his best man, but also their officiant. So I believe Kyle and Amanda's wedding was also the event where Lindsay and Carl had decided to kind of give their romance another try and started dating shortly thereafter. So I think Kyle assumed if he was not going to be asked to be his best man, he would at the very least be one of Carl's groomsmen. So Kyle and Carl have been close for many years, and Kyle has also been friends with Lindsay for several years as well, which would seem like he would be a shoo-in for this. I mean, yes, the previous summer, Kyle did lose his shit on Lindsay, basically calling her out on her bullshit, and he really doesn't hesitate to call it like he sees it with regards to Lindsay's aggressive and erratic behavior at times. But nonetheless, Carl drops a bomb on Kyle, letting him know that he would like him to be, drumroll please, their flower boy. I couldn't believe it. It's not like this was a special honor either, just for Kyle. Carl also lets him know that Andrea and Luke, who were past castmates from Summerhouse and are both models, would also be sharing in this special honor as well. I think you can tell Kyle was a little taken aback by this, but he holds his composure very well and accepts this demeaning offer, even though he asks Carl more than once, "But I'm not a groomsman?" So later in the episode, it's revealed in Carl's confessional that it was indeed Lindsay's influence that, I'll say encouraged, albeit demanded, was the culprit in this decision, because everyone knows the bride should be the one to decide who the groom should pick to be his groomsman, right? Look, I know it's both of their weddings, and even though Lindsay is allowed to have her opinion, I think Carl needs to grow a fucking sack and say, "I hear your concerns, but Kyle has been a very good friend to me and also has been a good friend to you, Lindsay, and ultimately, I should be able to have who I want standing beside me as my support system on our day as well." Paige said it perfectly when she said Lindsay was 100% behind this, as her thought process is, "Kyle will be throwing petals of flowers at my feet as I walk down the aisle." I laughed so hard. We all know and have seen and heard from Lindsay's own mouth she is a pretty vengeful person, so I have an inkling this may be some tit-for-tat shenanigans going on based off her resentment of Kyle from last summer. To segue into something I need to get off my chest about Carl, seeing the aftermath of Lindsay's behavior of her and Carl's relationship play out thus far, yes, Lindsay's behavior is and always has been abhorrent and selfish and absent of accountability, but as the episodes go on this season, I'm starting to have the mindset of Carl is being such a little bitch. Every fight they have where Lindsay is, if not 100%, almost 100% in the wrong, Carl ends up continuously apologizing to her. Carl quit his job at Loverboy because Lindsay heavily encouraged him to, and then he has to hear Lindsay complain that Carl doesn't have a job and she continuously shoots down his ideas where he wants to start progressing career-wise, and now the icing on the cake is that she's going to decide who she can or who Carl can and can't have as his groomsman. Like, enough, Carl. Grow a fucking sack. Lindsay is horrible, but you're just enabling her bad behavior by letting her gaslight the shit out of you and take away your voice and take away your ability to say your piece and stand up for things you believe in. And as a viewer that's watched Summerhouse since season 1, we all know Carl has not always been this person. Yes, it's nice to not have to watch Carl like be a douchebag fuckboy and actually evolve, but just because you're evolving doesn't mean you have to lay down and let Lindsay piss all over you, just for you to apologize to her in order to not activate her. If this is really what you're going to lower yourself to in order to make Lindsay happy, that's a really sad way to live. I just wish Carl can put Lindsay in her place a little bit, and hopefully we'll start to see that happen as the summer goes on. I mean, it seems at this point, when Carl finally does try to resolve their issues or find a common ground to move forward with their relationship, it's at the end of the season, and it seems like it's going to be the convo where Lindsay is completely blindsided that someone is asking her to be a big girl and be a little accountable for her horrible actions. So the show then displays some brief meetups during the week with some of the cast back in the city. Sierra, West, and Jesse grab a drink together, and then Danielle also shows up, which at this point I kind of forgot she was even a part of the show, and dare I say kind of disappointed that she was even involved. Anywho, they just shoot the shit, and it's revealed Sierra is in no rush to take things to the next level with West when it comes to having sex. She said it's cool with how slowly things are moving, and although Wes admitted in his confessional he can't really see himself going the whole summer without going all the way, I will blissfully continue watching their little romance blossom because I like them both and I think they have great chemistry. Also during the week, Kyle and Amanda look at a house out in the suburbs of New Jersey, much to Kyle's dismay. They are teetering with the idea of taking the next step soon and having kids, and Amanda is pushing for a place out of the city, a place with space and a yard, and more of the vibes of how both her and Kyle were raised as young kids. Although it seems Kyle was coming around to the idea, he continues to express that he does not want to leave the city life and make this change. And I think it's more symbolic of Kyle not wanting to give up his life and how things have been for many, many years. I think he's terrified of taking the next steps in life and starting a family and wants to continue to be like readily available to have that New York City life available at his fingertips. I also think this could possibly be like a root cause for a lot of Amanda's annoyance with Kyle. And I'm scared this kind of like internal conflict with both of them will eventually, if not already, lead to resentment in their relationship. So we'll continue to see how these situations move along with them. So to round out the week's activities, Thursday, the real groomsmen and the flower boys meet up at a tuck shop to get fitted for their outfits for Carl's upcoming wedding. Although it's not filmed, it's told the boys all went out later that night for a little bachelor party-esque outing. So finally, it's the next weekend, and Paige and Jesse drive to the house first, where Paige is preparing for an Italy-themed dinner party. Once Carl and Lindsay arrive, it's brought up that Jesse did not go out with the guys the night prior because he was kind of unaware it was like a bachelor-type gathering for Carl. So Jesse flat out asked Carl, so is Kyle a groomsman then? Knowing Kyle was in attendance last night at this party. And Carl casually retorts, no, but he's in the wedding. So Jesse repeats his question, but he's not a groomsman? To which Carl corrects him by revealing he's the flower boy. So Paige is sitting there knowing this is the case, but saves her comments for her confessional where she states, Carl officiated Kyle's wedding and they're making him a flower girl, she says. I wouldn't even go if you said that to me. I would slap you in the face and say, have a nice wedding. And Paige is spot on. So once everyone arrives, dinner ensues, and everyone's asking everyone questions about their week, where Amanda starts discussing the house her and Kyle had looked at. You can see Kyle starting to pout and brew a little toddler tantrum when he tries to state in front of everyone at dinner that he's not so much into the idea of moving, and Amanda seems annoyed, thinking they were finally starting to get on the same page, only for Kyle to completely retract once they're all in a group setting. So the episode ends with me, as a viewer, wanting more and wondering what mischief will ensue in the next episode. This is the kind of like leisure I want to revel in while watching like a young Bravo show. There's some drama, there's some messiness, and besides Lindsay's blatant unself-awareness and Carl's lack of a sack, I'm enjoying the group dynamics and the fun that's being had this season. So I'm going to go watch the current week's episode real quick. And I'm back. I have watched it, so here is the recap of this most recent episode. The episode starts with the rest of the Friday night Italian dinner. So we go right back to Amanda and Kyle's house conversation. Kyle reiterates that he's going to feel disconnected if he moves out of the city and starts questioning if they're even in a good enough place to even consider having kids. They cut to Amanda's confessional where she states that her and Kyle have both said they are on complete agreement about where to raise their kids and have always agreed on that, which is why she's increasingly more frustrated with him, backtracking now that it's time to start considering that. The remainder of the night, everyone just chills and eventually goes to bed. So Saturday, they have a beach day with a fun beach volleyball game where Carl and Jesse both describe their pasts with volleyball as they played it in high school and college. And as they were kind of comparing both of their past volleyball stories, I start to feel that Jesse is kind of like a younger, hotter, kind of maybe goofier version of Carl. So the tension between Kyle and Amanda continue to be thick and unwavering. So while on the beach, Kyle asks Amanda to step away from the group so they can have a chat. Things get heated pretty quickly, and Amanda states, you just don't like when I take a stance on something. And in this particular case, it was the stance she was taking was that the fact that she was pissed that Kyle was out until 4 a.m. Thursday night with Carl and the guys. And Kyle states that your stance is bullshit. Was Amanda overreacting to him coming home late from Carl's groomsmen outing? Perhaps. But this is not the first time we've seen Kyle be demeaning to Amanda when her opinions and perspectives are different than his. Then to end their beach chat, Kyle says he's a very social person and being married to Amanda is lonely as fuck. Yikes. After that, Amanda shuts down the conversation and walks away with no real resolve and only more tension to be foreshadowed. So Saturday night, half the crew stays in and the other half goes out. The ones that stayed in for the night were Lindsay, Sierra, Amanda, and Andrea, who has come for just the weekend. They're all just chatting and playing fun games, and then one question was asked to rate your current sex life, and Lindsay wastes no time to answer and rates her sex life with Carl a 2.5. Ouch. So the ones that go out for the evening are Danielle, Paige, Carl, Kyle, and Jesse. Paige flat out tells Kyle to stop being a dick when he complains he's not on a good page with Amanda. Kyle admits he went through Amanda's phone and was sad because there wasn't any photos of him in her camera roll and becomes emotional and starts crying. Paige does comfort him, letting him know that she can see both sides with Kyle and Amanda, but encourages them to try and work out their issues that are kind of under the surface level, basically. So around 1 a.m., most of the crew arrives back at the home, being Carl, Danielle, and Paige. Around 3 or 4 a.m., Jesse arrives home with a girl where they inevitably hook up, but who was tagging along arriving home at 4 a.m. was Kyle. He wakes Amanda up when going into their room, knowing she's going to be pissed, which obviously pisses Amanda off. And as their beef going into the weekend was that he came home at 4 a.m. in the morning on the Thursday, Friday night. So I just think it's kind of like ironic that Kyle thinks being married to Amanda is lonely, but yet he's the one sitting in the kitchen alone, drunk at 4 a.m. with no one to party with. So everyone wakes up Sunday morning and heads home, but without the iciest interaction between Kyle and Amanda, as she is very much pissed off, and Kyle is just moping around like he is aware he is very much in the doghouse. So during the week, you then see West having a little picnic because he wasn't at the house this weekend because he had a wedding to attend to. So he was having a little picnic with his great aunt. And West is telling her about Sierra. He describes her as awesome, beautiful, and would be dumb to not want to move forward. But there seems to be some kind of like inkling of hesitation there. His aunt tells him that he has to open himself up to being hurt, and it seems West has kept relationships pretty casual since him and his high school sweetheart had ended things years ago. So simultaneously, they're showing Sierra meeting with her agent as she officially signs with a major modeling agency. So Sierra is also a nurse, but I think ever since right after COVID, she kind of took a step back, and she knows she's getting older, so she's kind of like, if I'm really going to give this modeling a shot, like it's now or never, basically. So it was really good to see. I'm happy for her, and I think she's absolutely stunning, and I hope she gets booked for a lot of stuff. So the next to last scene is Kyle and Amanda meeting with a relationship coach, which I believe is probably needed and could help resolve or possibly shed light on how to move forward and communicate more effectively with one another. It's revealed that a major insecurity of Amanda's is not feeling good enough, and she doesn't feel like she gets that validation from Kyle, which Kyle states he feels like Amanda just flat out doesn't like him. So Amanda also admits that even though Kyle last cheated on Amanda a few years ago, it's still triggering for her because of the PTSD from that situation still lingers, and she doesn't understand why Kyle would want to continue to be out and party with people he just meets until the wee hours of the morning, as that was also the situation of how his cheating occurred when he was out late and was blackout. So the relationship coach plainly states that they both need to think about maybe why they feel a certain way and the history and reasons behind it rather than just pointing the finger and getting defensive, which I think almost everybody can struggle with at times. I know I can very much struggle with being defensive. So I do like them. I'm rooting for them, and I hope they figure out the best way to move forward if it is together or I don't know. We'll see. So finally, the last scene of the episode is Lindsay trying on her wedding dress. Gabby and Danielle were invited, as well as some other like family members of Lindsay's. So Lindsay did look beautiful and very happy, and which makes the ending of this like really kind of sad to watch. Like, listen, I know I rag on Lindsay a lot on here, but I'm still human, and I do feel bad knowing that a dream you've had for so long like just dissipates, especially when it's so close. Even though it can be due to her own like self-sabotaging, you still kind of do have, feel bad for her. So Lindsay basically ends the episode by saying she feels like she has imposter syndrome, feeling like she didn't really deserve something, and that's something meaning her like fairy tale wedding and fairy tale ending. And I really hate to be insensitive to her in this moment, but I don't think it's imposter syndrome. I feel like it's intuition. So that is it for Summerhouse, and I am, as always, excited for next week. Like I said, it doesn't bring up as like deep-rooted emotions and opinions as Vanderpump does, but this is, I think, what we need as Bravo viewers, something not so heavy, not so black and white with things, and just kind of like carefree and fun with a little drama sprinkled in. So I'm not really going to recap the Valley per se. We're about 3 or 4 episodes in, and it's kind of going to take me a minute to like resonate with the cast. I mean, besides Brittany, Jackson, Kristen, who I don't mind being on the show, I've always kind of enjoyed them in different ways on Vanderpump, and it's kind of nice to see them like in a different light and interacting with like a different group of people. But as of right now, I'm just going to do like basic takeaways for everyone on the cast of The Valley. So first up is Danny and Nia. I like them. There's no real drama and they seem very normal. I mean, they seem surprisingly sane for having 3 kids under the age of 2. I mean, I had 2 kids under the age of 2 and it was probably the most difficult time in my life. So kudos to them for being pleasant people and balancing it all, like mad respect. So we'll see how that continues to play out. Next up, we have Jesse and Michelle. Plainly, Jesse's a douchebag, and dare I say, makes Jax not look as evil as he really is. But just hearing Jesse's approach to not being like a very involved dad thus far just makes him annoying and kind of gross to watch. So we do see Jesse and Michelle in couples therapy, and I don't think there's any shock as to why they are there, but I think it's blatantly obvious that their relationship was, as Michelle put it, the longest booty call ever. That's how Michelle explained it had started, and now having like a 3-year-old daughter, this is kind of where they're at. The premise of their relationship was built on a time when they were kind of both carefree and down to hook up without any like consequential aftermath. But since the show has actually completed its first season, we have found out recently that Jesse and Michelle have separated shortly after Jax and Brittany, and I don't think this came as a surprise to anyone now that we're seeing what their relationship is actually like. So next up is Jason and Janet. Jason seems kind of boring, but in reality TV, usually when someone appears boring, that means they are probably normal. He seems like a nice dude, but I just don't have that much to go off of yet. But Janet, I'm getting snake vibes from Janet. She seems shady and seems like the type of girl that talks a lot of shit behind closed doors, but if called out, is able to turn the tables and like contorts it in a way that makes you look like an idiot for trying to call her out. I don't really trust her, and I hate to say it, but I think her being pregnant during the season will allow the others to kind of let her off the hook with some of her messiness, but again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that. So Kristen Luke, good old Kristen Doty. If you are a Bravoholic, you are familiar with Kristen. She is always capable of bringing the drama, but now wants to focus on like starting a family, and her current beau is Luke, who mainly lives in Colorado but has committed to spending the summer with Kristen in LA. Although he's expressed he has absolutely no desire to live there permanently, but seems totally on board with having a child with Kristen. And to be honest, Luke seems like, I would have to say, the best boyfriend Kristen has ever had. And remind you, we've been watching Kristen Doty on our TVs for over a decade, so that's saying a lot because she's had several partners. So on to Zach. Zach was a college friend of Brittany, like pre-Vanderpump, pre-LA, pre-all of that. But now in this, he's just kind of like one of the girls, but girl, he seems just very messy. I don't really have too much of opinion on him yet. I know he's going to be involved in the drama this season, but I can't tell if his involvement will be like funny messy or like aggravating messy. So far, it's kind of more annoying messy based on the most recent storyline in the past episode or two of supposedly Janet mentioning to Zach that Michelle is a Republican and therefore also a racist. To which Zach continues the gossip train by telling Kristen, and then Kristen inevitably blurts it out loud when Kristen becomes pissed off about what seems to be a completely unrelated topic. So next is Jasmine. She seems cool. She seems down to earth so far, but she is from like the Sir Vanderpump universe kind of and has a lot of ties to that group of friends. I kind of get the feeling she might be like a voice of reason going forward this season, and this is just a hunch. I could be totally wrong. But so far she seems quite normal, which is probably why she hasn't really gotten too much screen time yet. Finally, what I consider the patriarch and matriarch of the show, Jax and Brittany. We all know Jax from years and iconic quotes and one-liners from his time on Vanderpump Rules, but now it seems Jax is reigniting his number one guy in the group status with taking credit for the launch of this new show. For those that don't know, Jax and Brittany officially separated after wrapping the filming of the season, and I feel like it's going to be painful to watch the demise of their relationship play out. Jax seems to think because he got married and had a kid, he has grown up, and in some ways maybe he has. But even in the first couple episodes, the way he talks about Brittany, and given his past track record, this is going to be nasty. I believe in the most recent episode, they were at a dinner at one of Jesse and Michelle's listings because they're real estate agents. They all like hosted a nice dinner at one of their houses that they're selling. And after some drama had arose that didn't involve Jax, like it was the whole Kristen, Michelle, Janet situation, Jax has no hesitation stating, I just wanted a night out from parenthood to have some shots and talk shit about my wife. Like, what the fuck? Like, go out to have fun with your wife without all that stress of the parenthood aspect. But like, all he wants to do is talk shit about Brittany. And it's okay if you feel that way, especially when you're in a relationship with someone with kids. But like, you don't say that. And publicly, you want to look like your partner's like ride or die. So I don't know. That just didn't sit well with me at all. I do not think their separation had anything to do with like a publicity stunt to promote the show. I honestly think Brittany finally got fed up with his shit and knew things had to change, which I think week by week, the evidence will continue to mount to this inevitable conclusion. And dare I say, no doubt their impending divorce. So I do want to mention that there is a scene where they're discussing the sudden motor skills and verbal decline of their 2-year-old boy that like really tugged at my heartstrings. As even though their marital relationship is heavily flawed, I do think that they are both very good parents. And the hardest thing in parenthood is to watch your kids struggle with something like this. But hopefully, with some guidance and help, he will be just fine. Kids always progress at different times and at their own pace. So I'm hopeful that everything's okay with him. And that's it for my valley opinions. Ain't no valley low enough to keep me from giving a recap. Thanks again for listening, you guys. Don't hesitate to come back for more. Bye.